Welcome to the Standing in the Gaps News Deep Dive, the show where we go beyond the headlines, really explore those stories that matter. Today, we're taking a deep dive into the career of Doug Collins, the newly confirmed Secretary of Veterans Affairs.
Yeah, it's a fascinating journey to this position. We often think of high-level government appointments, going to career politicians, or policy wonks, but Collins' path is anything but typical.
So you're telling me the guy now in charge of the VA, one of the largest government agencies in the U.S., spent over a decade as a pastor?
11 years, to be exact. He was ordained after getting his Master of Divinity degree, even pastored a church in Gainesville, Georgia.
Wow. So a pastor leading the VA, what does that mean for his leadership style? Do you think his faith background will impact his approach to this massive job?
That's a great question, and I think it's one we'll be exploring throughout this deep dive.
Do you believe in standing strong for what's right? Do you value faith, freedom, and biblical truth in today's ever-changing world? Then we've got something special for you. Welcome to the Standing in the Gaps merch store, the official store of the Standing in the Gaps podcast, where we explore the social, economic, and political issues of today through a biblical lens. Here's what we've got for you. T-shirts that help you make a bold statement everywhere you go. Whether you're standing up for truth or sparking conversations, our shirts reflect the spirit of standing in the gaps. Need fuel for those long, thoughtful mornings or deep dive discussions? We've got premium coffee roasted to perfection, along with sturdy mugs designed to hold that truth-fueled brew. Want to represent your values wherever life takes you? Grab one of our stylish hats to keep you covered, literally and figuratively. And don't miss our inspirational prints that you can frame and hang up at home or in your office, a daily reminder to stand firm in faith. But that's not all. From accessories to gifts, we've got a variety of items that let you stand out while standing strong for what you believe in. Every purchase supports the mission of Standing in the Gaps, helping us continue bringing you insightful content, meaningful conversations, and the courage to face the tough topics. So what are you waiting for? Visit Standing in the Gaps merch store today. Link is in the description. Grab some gear, enjoy some great coffee, and help us keep bridging the gap in today's world. Together, let's stand for truth. Together, let's stand in the gap.
But before we get too far ahead of ourselves, let's go back to the beginning. Collins was born in 1966. He has both a divinity degree and a law degree.
Hold on. A pastor, A&D, a lawyer? That's quite the combination.
It is, and it speaks to a multifaceted personality, someone drawn to both service and justice. We see this dual interest play out throughout his career. He began his military service in the late 1980s as a U.S. Navy chaplain. Then, after 9/11, he felt a renewed call to service and joined the Air Force Reserve, again as a chaplain.
So he was in active ministry.
Yeah.
While also serving the military. That's dedication. Makes you wonder what kind of experiences he had during those years and how they might have shaped his worldview. I mean, we're talking about someone who provides spiritual guidance in high-stress situations.
Absolutely. And it wasn't just stateside service either. In 2008, he was deployed to Balad Air Base in Iraq. For 5 months, this was right in the thick of war. A very active and often dangerous posting.
Wow, that's intense. I'm sensing a pattern here, a strong sense of duty and a willingness to serve, even in challenging circumstances. And get this. He still serves as a colonel in the Air Force Reserve to this day. Talk about commitment. Don't forget to leave a comment below. And tell us what you think about Collins' unique path to the VA.
Engagement is key. It helps us reach more people with these deep dives. While he was serving in the Air Force Reserve, Collins launched his political career in 2007. He served in the Georgia House of Representatives for 6 years. In 2013, he was elected to the U.S. House of Representatives, representing Georgia's 9th district.
So we've got the chaplain.
Yeah.
The lawyer.
Yeah.
And now the politician. It's like he's collecting titles. What made him transition from state to federal politics? Was he looking for a bigger stage to make an impact?
It seems that way. And he's gained more influence on the national level. During the 116th Congress, he served as a ranking member of the House Judiciary Committee, a very powerful position. This is where he really started to make headlines, particularly during the Trump presidency.
This is where things get interesting, right? I remember hearing about Collins' role in the impeachment hearings and his staunch defense of the president.
Yeah, exactly. He became a key ally for President Trump. And that relationship would continue, even after he left Congress.
What happened after his time in the House?
Well, in 2020, Collins decided to run for a U.S. Senate seat, but was unsuccessful in the Republican primary. That loss led him to opt out of running for re-election in the House, where he was succeeded by Andrew Clyde. After leaving office, he served as legal counsel for President Trump, further solidifying their connection.
Chaplain, lawyer, politician, Trump ally, and now Secretary of Veterans Affairs. Each piece of his experience builds upon the last. His journey, while unconventional, has prepared him for this role in some ways.
It's a fascinating blend of experiences, and now he's leading an agency with over 400,000 employees, a budget exceeding $350 billion, and responsible for nearly 200 medical centers and hospitals across the country. The scope is immense.
The Department of Veterans Affairs is no small operation. We're talking about health care, tuition assistance, pensions, disability compensation, survivor benefits, you name it. And they're serving a population of almost 18 million veterans. That's a huge responsibility.
Absolutely. And it comes with its fair share of challenges. There's that massive $16 billion electronic health records overhaul that's been in the works, ongoing budget issues, not to mention the constant pressure to improve the quality of care and address long wait times for appointments.
It sounds like a pretty daunting task, even for someone with Collins' diverse background. But let's focus on that background for a moment. How do you think his time as a chaplain dealing with people in crisis and providing spiritual support might translate to leading the VA?
I think it's a crucial aspect of his experience. Remember, chaplains aren't just there for religious matters. They're trained to listen, to offer comfort, to help people find strength and meaning in difficult circumstances. Those are valuable skills in any leadership role, but especially in one focused on serving veterans who may be dealing with trauma, physical injuries, or the challenges of reintegrating into civilian life.
That's a good point. It's about empathy and understanding, really connecting with the people you're serving. We often talk about the importance of mental health care for veterans, addressing issues like PTSD and depression. I wonder if Collins's background might lead to a greater emphasis on the holistic well-being of veterans, not just their physical health.
That's a really insightful observation, and it's certainly something to watch for as he takes on this role. In addition to providing spiritual guidance, chaplains are also often involved in ethical decision-making, navigating complex situations, and advocating for those in need. These skills could prove valuable as he tackles the systemic challenges within the VA and works to improve the lives of veterans across the country.
I'm starting to see how all these seemingly disparate pieces of his experience might actually come together in a unique way. It's not just about his political connections or his legal expertise. It's about bringing a different perspective, a more human-centered approach to the VA. This is getting really interesting. Don't forget to hit that like button and subscribe to our channel for more deep dives like this.
Absolutely. And while we're talking about support, I want to take a moment to mention our Standing in the Gaps podcast GoFundMe campaign.
We're working hard to bring you these deep dives, and we're always looking for ways to broaden our audience and enhance our production quality. But to do that, we need your help.
Even a small donation can make a huge difference in helping us reach more people and provide even more insightful and engaging content.
Now back to Doug Collins. He was nominated by President-elect Trump in November 2024 and confirmed by the Senate last month. With a 77-23 vote, he was sworn in on February 5th, becoming the 12th Secretary of Veterans Affairs. What are some of his stated priorities for the VA?
He's made it clear that he wants to cut regulations, streamline processes, and make the VA more efficient. He's also pledged to improve the quality of care, address those persistent wait times that veterans often face, and put a greater emphasis on preventative care. It's an ambitious agenda for sure.
And there's one thing that really stands out about his appointment. Doug Collins is the first military chaplain to ever lead the VA. I think that's a significant fact. And it'll be fascinating to see how that perspective shapes his leadership and his approach to the challenges ahead.
It's certainly a unique situation, and it raises some intriguing questions. Will his experience as a chaplain lead to a more compassionate and empathetic approach to veterans' care? Will he be able to effectively navigate the political landscape and secure the resources the VA needs? Will he prioritize the spiritual and mental well-being of veterans alongside their physical health? These are all things we'll be watching closely as his tenure unfolds.
And it's not just about his individual leadership style. We also have to consider the broader context. The VA has faced a lot of criticism in recent years. Scandals involving wait times and substandard care have eroded public trust in the agency.
That's true. And there's a growing awareness of the unique challenges veterans face, particularly those returning from recent conflicts, mental health issues, traumatic brain injuries, the difficulties of reintegrating into civilian life. These are complex problems that require a multifaceted approach.
Right, so Collins is stepping into this role at a pivotal moment. He has an opportunity to make a real difference in the lives of millions of veterans, but he's also facing immense pressure to turn things around and restore faith in the VA.
His background as a chaplain, someone who has provided comfort and guidance in difficult situations, could be a valuable asset in this regard. He may be uniquely positioned to understand the needs of veterans on a deeper level and advocate for policies that address their holistic well-being.
It's not just about politics or policies. It's about understanding the human cost of service and finding ways to support those who have sacrificed so much for our country.
Exactly. And I think that's what makes this appointment so fascinating. It's not just about Doug Collins, the individual. It's about what his leadership might represent. A shift towards a more compassionate, holistic, and human-centered approach to veterans care.
That's a powerful idea, and it'll be interesting to see how it plays out in the coming months and years.
It will. And we'll be here to cover it every step of the way, so make sure to like and subscribe to our channel so you don't miss any of our deep dives.
It really is a pivotal moment for the VA and for veterans across the country. As we wrap up this deep dive into Doug Collins' journey to becoming VA Secretary, I'd love to hear your final thoughts. What's the one key takeaway you think our listeners should keep in mind?
That's a great question. I think the most compelling aspect of this story is the intersection of faith, service, and leadership. We often see these as separate spheres, but in Collins' career, they're deeply intertwined. His faith has clearly informed his sense of service, both in the military and in his community. And now he's bringing that same commitment to serving veterans on a national scale.
It's like he's been on a lifelong mission to serve others, from the pulpit to the courtroom, to the halls of Congress, and now to the helm of the VA. It's an unconventional path, but it's led him to this moment, where he has the potential to make a real difference in the lives of millions.
Exactly, and I think that's what makes this appointment so fascinating. It challenges our assumptions about who can lead and how different experiences can shape a leader's approach.
I feel like I've gained a whole new understanding of the man behind the headlines. And for our listeners, I hope this has sparked some thoughtful conversations about leadership, service, and the unique needs of our veterans.
It's been a great discussion, and if any of our listeners are interested in learning more about Doug Collins or the Department of Veterans Affairs, we'll be sure to include some resources in the show notes.
Perfect. And before we sign off, I want to give a huge shout out to everyone who has supported our Standing in the Gaps podcast GoFundMe campaign. Your contributions are helping us upgrade our equipment and reach a wider audience with our deep dives.
We're incredibly grateful for your generosity.
Thanks again for listening, everyone. We'll see you next time for another deep dive into a topic that matters.
Don't forget to like, subscribe, and leave a comment below. We always appreciate your engagement.
Until next time.